Vaishali aunty, can you just wait 2 minutes? My mom is coming.
Your mother is coming. That's okay. I'm not going to start off with the books right away. I'm actually going to talk about the class. I'm going to talk about all the different things that we did in the classes together, because people will really appreciate one thing, that in a span of 7 days, it was an 8-day workshop, and in 7 days all of you have come up with splendid ideas of a mystery story. I always believe that children have lovely ideas in their heads and they always are, making stories. But writing a mystery story at such a young age is really a very, very big feat. You've really conquered a very tough genre, you know. And the way you've worked with me, the way you followed every instruction, every idea that I gave all of you, I was so happy to see the outcome. And I must tell your parents that they all started their stories with one line. And today, when I have put it into print, into an ebook format, at least 6 or 7 pages of a story for the first go, for the first draft, I think I really have to give them a big round of applause for that. And the beauty of any group, especially I think I've always had this experience, is the way they work together. And when I mean by the way they work together is that they are also open to take suggestions from their friends. Sometimes when they feel stuck at a certain point, at that time also they take ideas from each other. So the beauty was when one of the child was stuck with something, the other one came up with an idea, and then they immediately took it and it was incorporated in the story. So it's not just about having their own ideas, but working together as a group. The second thing is every single aspect of mystery has to be about observation, and they have to understand the concept of how a mystery story really unfolds. And they have really, captured the essence of a mystery story and created their own. And I've been sending you WhatsApp messages, so you're definitely reading the way in which the stories have progressed. So, I'm going to go one by one. Shravi is right here on my screen, extreme left. Shravi has done quite a few writing sessions with me, and I've always seen her as a child who comes up with the with the greatest of ideas. She will come up with something that the group can never think of. Like in the entire set of children that are there, Shravi's come up with a story where a witch loses her spell book. And to understand that mystery doesn't necessarily have to be in today's scenario, and it can be anywhere. It was very exciting. And I still remember that when Shravi shared her idea for the very first time, all the children were smiling because they loved the whole idea of bringing an Enid Blyton kind of a scenario and converting that into a mystery. So very nice, Shravi. I love reading her story, and we all loved your idea very, very, very much. So very well done. Next, I'm going to go
Thank
to
you,
Advait.
Vaishali aunty.
Most welcome, my child. Next is Advait. Advait is a fabulous storyteller. Okay, and he really spins the story on the go. He's very spontaneous and very articulate. One thing that I have even told my family, I discuss about my sessions with my family. I talk to them about the children, about the things that I learned from them. And there's one thing that, stood out with respect to Advait was whenever Advait speaks or he wants to make a point, he always says 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C, and he puts them very thoughtfully one after the other because he's a maker that he's thought through everything. And I love the way he, has this wonderful skill of listening and then also contributing in terms of ideas to the other children. So I remember this one situation wherein Kavya, my daughter, had come up with a mystery story about an art theft, right, Kavya? And she was thinking about different ways of solving the plot. And then we left it open to the group to give us suggestions. And everyone came up with a suggestion, and Kavya, picked up advice. And it was very sweet to see both of them share a smile that, oh, I'm so happy you like the idea, and I'm so happy you gave me your idea. And that I think is the beauty of the group. It's not just about, sharing stories, but, working together so well. So Advait, Fabulous story. Fantastic. I must say that you are a very confident boy, and so is your thief in your story. Your detective is not so much a hero in your story as much as your criminal is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going
Yeah,
to go
thank
next
you.
to Eva.
Actually, my idea of the criminal being bigger than the hero, than the detective, was because when you said that the criminal is more important than the detective, that stuck with me.
That's stuff.
Because I went through all the crimes I've read, and I realized it was really true. So I decided to think in my criminal much more than I thought in with my detective.
Excellent. So you can actually right now see the live articulation of what I just said. So when we spoke about the mystery story, I told children that we always try to think the case is great and we want to solve it, or the detective is great. But a criminal story is always interesting when the criminal is, is a tough one to crack. When the criminal is the one who is very intriguing. A lot of times, even when we as adults watch mystery stories or read mystery novels, we're intrigued by the kind of crime that's committed and we're excited to see how the plot really unfolds. So I think these children have really picked it up because each of their culprits or each of their criminals are totally different and very well thought through. I'm going to go over to Eva next. Eva, um, Eva is a very silent observer. Okay, but there's one thing I realized is whatever I tell her, she would just pick it up, sit quietly, work on it, and then produce it the very next day. And I must tell you that Eva's story is somewhere in between the fantasy world of Shravi and the utterly fictitious world of where there are laser beams and there are big hits. It's somewhere in the middle. And I call it the real world. Eva's mystery is something that you and I would love to solve. When you read Eva's story, you will feel that, oh, wow, I could solve the plot as well. So you yourself feel like a detective. And the way she thinks through the idea is also fabulous because she picks up things from daily life and she spins it into a mystery story. And even the solutions are found through simple mysteries which you can just get through observing. You don't need great technology, you don't need magic, but what you need is just simply to be observant, which was one of the very important points that I stressed on during my first session. And I think Eva really imbibed that into her story because while we read it, you will see how she's made a note of the things that we see around us and how easily that can actually help us unfold and solve a mystery. So Eva, wonderful work. A lot of times during our discussions of stories, when I would ask them and leave them with a mystery plot and ask them to be detectives, it was quite a few times that Eva could solve the case because of the keen observation that she made of the words that came out when I was telling the story. So good on you, Eva. I think you should really explore mystery writing.
Thank you.
You're really good at it. Yeah. I'm going to go on to Vyom. Hi, Vyom.
Hi.
Hi. So, Vyom is, okay, I'm going to start with something irrelevant to the mystery story. I'm going to say Vyom is a darling because the thing is, whatever is said in the class, he gets very excited about it. And then you can see the way he nods and then he'll try to put it into his story. And he's really worked very hard because the story was just 4 lines to begin with. And today when I was editing it, I was very happy to see that even on a Word document with a simple, very small font, it ran into about a page and a half. And it was very well worked because the introduction, I asked him to revisit. How to explain the characters, I asked him to revisit. How the plot unfolds, I asked him to revisit. And the sincerity with which he has done it is visible in the end product. For children, it's all there in the head. But to be able to put it out in words is tougher, because we tend to type and write very fast. The speed at which they write, the speed at which they type is much slower than the speed at which they think. So I think for the younger ones, to be able to put it down on paper is like a very, very big achievement. So Vyom, I'm very proud of you. Very, very proud of you. And I like how his story kind of connects with himself because he's very fond of shiny objects. And that's how his entire story began. He said, you know, I love things that shine. And what I want to do with it is I just want to collect them. And so the criminal in our story wants to collect shiny objects, which lands up being precious gems and stones. And why he wants to collect it? Because he just wants to have a collection. Very simple. The children also went through the process of understanding that the criminal can have different motives when he commits a crime. Because he needs the money for, for something personal. It could also be because he thinks that committing the crime is an art. He enjoys committing that crime and he loves collecting those gemstones, and that's exactly what is there in your story. The criminal is not collecting the gems because he wants to sell it somewhere and make the money, but right since the time he was a child. So again, going into the history of the character. So Vyom, very well done. I was very happy. I had a smile on my face when I saw that you wrote about the childhood days of the criminal. See, I can see the smile on your face. So I was very happy to see that. Incorporating the history of the character is also very, very important. So you've done that, and your stories also moved very, very beautifully. And you've solved the crime as well. Yeah, so well done. Next, I'm going to go to Tanvi. Hi, Tanvi.
Hi, Vasu.
Yeah. So Tanvi's story is also very interesting because it's a heist, it's a robbery, but it's for revenge. And to understand the psychology of a criminal who's actually committing a crime to get revenge is quite deep-rooted. And it took a while for Tanvi to understand that we need to set the reason for revenge very well. But then when she did it, she incorporated it very beautifully in her story. And apart from just picking up the character who's the criminal, adding the other characters around the story is also something she's done very well. Because in any criminal story or in any mystery story, there have to be some red herring, something that kind of misleads you. You need to have 2 or 3 suspects. You need to visit different suspects and then finally come up with the end. So I love that aspect in Tanvi's story. And I really love the end. We'll get to it when we get to the story because I love that though the entire story is set in an extravagant castle because it talks about the heist of a crown, but still when it ends, people really don't know that the heist had taken place. So I think that's very nice. To think of the story in that manner is also very nice to go on that step. So Tanvi, well done. I love the end of your story. I told you that day also.
Thank you.
You had talked about it. So very well done. We'll now go to Mahir. Hi, Mahir.
Hi, mom.
Yeah. So this is Mahir's first ever experience in a writing or a reading kind of workshop. I still remember little Mahir was like so reluctant. He refused to turn on his camera on the first day. He said, I've just been sent for this class and I don't want to be here at all. And I said, no problem. But then I'm not seeing you. That itself is a mystery. And then slowly, as we started discussing about detectives, slowly as we started discussing about mystery and how you can have a detective who doesn't have to be, somebody very famous. It can be an animal also. I think that kind of made it very comfortable and easy for Mahir to come up with his detective who's called Makan. Now, Makan is a mouse. And Makan is the one who solves the crime. And Makan loves butter and Makan loves cheese. I love the way he explained everything. And then the cutest part of Mahir's story is that Makan has special powers and God gave him those special powers. And then how the children react by saying that, wow, God is so kind to give Makan's detective special powers. And the special powers is he's got X-ray vision. He can just see through everything. But then I told Mahir that, okay, he has X-ray vision, but not all crimes can be solved only with X-ray vision, right? So we'll have to think of some way in which your Makan can catch the thief. So Mahir's story in written form is not ready. But what I loved, which was very different from everyone else's, is that in Mahir's story, the detective and the criminal become friends. Okay. And then I was talking to them, okay, but how will they become friends? They need to find some common ground, right? Right? Like how you make friends with people. I mean, you go to a party and you see somebody is enjoying
Ma'am,
guys as much as you, and then you think, oh, okay.
was very dumb. That's why I became friend with the detective.
And what and how did they become friends, Mahir?
I don't know because the detective dressed like a thief.
Yes, but then you said it's right.
Because they share things in common.
Yes, what do they share in common? They ate something in common, no? Chicken nuggets. You remember, Mahir?
Yes.
Yeah, the sweetest part was he said, oh, you know, that the detective was in a restaurant and the thief also used to come there and the thief used to love chicken nuggets. And so the detective also ate it and then they both became friends because they both love chicken nuggets. And then once they became friends, they were able to trust each other. And that's how the thief was able to share his plan with the detective. And then he was, you know, able to unfold the crime, which I think is very interesting, no? Very sweet. I mean, if the world was such a wonderful place where, you know, people could be friends just by eating something common, it would be so wonderful. So, Mahir, I'm going to wait for your written story so I can put it down in paper. Excuse me. And finally, we come to Kavya's story. Kavya's story was ready, but I haven't had the time to sit and type it down. And I took the leeway of being her mom and telling her we'll do it later. So Kavya is very fond of art, right? And so that brought her, you know, create a plot wherein what happens, Kavya, in your story? Paintings are stolen. Yeah, and which artist did you pick? Do you remember? Van Gogh? So she picked Van Gogh's paintings. And what I really enjoyed watching her do was she started researching about Van Gogh, you know, the different kinds of paintings that Van Gogh made. And then we stumbled upon this thing that, you know, a sketchbook which had 65 sketches made by Van Gogh was discovered by a Canadian, right? So, but they were still not sure if the book was really owned by Van Gogh, if those sketches were really made by him. So initially she decided that a lot of paintings are stolen. And finally, what happens was through Advait's idea. So Advait's idea was to create a trap wherein the criminal falls into a trap of another painting coming out in the market. So he comes to buy it and that's where he gets caught. So initially, Kavya was toying with the idea of the sketchbook, but then when she discovered that the sketchbook may not be Van Gogh, she said, I don't want to pick that. So I'm going to pick some other painting. So that's one painting that he doesn't have at all in his collection. And there's a advertisement about that painting being auctioned somewhere. And so he falls right into the trap. And there's a very beautiful way in which he hides all the paintings. So her story also has a point wherein he doesn't have place to hide all the paintings, right? So what does he do?
Vaishali, we are not able to hear Kavya.
I usually happens, she's sitting far. So story kind of goes that you know, he collects a lot of Van Gogh paintings and he runs out of place to store it. So that's why he needs to sell one of the paintings out in the market. And with the money, he gets a storeroom or a library wherein he creates a space where these paintings are stolen. But since one painting is out into the market, he asks the person not to mention how he got it, but then that gets sold to somebody else, and in turn gets sold to somebody else, and it creates a trail. And it is through that trail that the detective is able to catch who the person is. So that's how her. Who that person is, and can you hear her now? You'll have to be quiet.
Know who that person is and then so catch him so that then we got that painting.
So finally, it's the trail of the missing painting, the one painting that he sells, which directly leads them to the criminal. So these are the different stories that children have come up with. And I must tell you, I think I'm very lucky to, have witnessed the plot unfold and the way their stories develop. Okay, so you have all seen it on WhatsApp. You've all seen handwritten stuffs being sent to me. And finally, in 7 days, there are Word documents which are being sent. And what fascinates me about the online format nowadays is the children are so well versed. So they're like, oh, will you allow us to type it out? Yeah, I can send you a Word document. I can send you a PDF. You don't worry about it at all. And I felt bad that the children are going to school, and they have so much to do. So I said, if you can't sit down and write it or you can't type it, you just record it. Voice record your story, doesn't matter, and somebody can scribe it for you. And they were so thrilled because that made them feel that this was not homework. This was not an assignment which had to be submitted or they can't come to class the next day. So they had these easier options as well. So I think, and sometimes, like I told you, the children's minds think faster than they can write. So if they can just scribe them, if they can just record their thoughts and it can be scribed later, I think in that manner, we don't stop their ideas from, just flowing the way they usually flow. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. I would like the children to share their experiences and then we'll jump into the story, or the parents, your experiences of what the children have, what you've seen at home. I see them for an hour and then I see their beautiful work. You see them at home. So, do let me know what you've thought about the entire thing. My children speak more than all of you.
Hi, can I say something?
Yes, Ravi.
Yeah, so we keep asking Advait to write because we love his writing, and but writing is tough, right? It's hard work, as you say, and you need to create the right, I think, environment, give them the right tools, and encourage them. And I think that has been the greatest part of this. Of course, the tools are useful, the concepts are useful, but there's this concept, right? You tell somebody how to do it, they may or may not do it, but then you put them in an environment where they are made to do it, then it will come out. I think that's brilliant. And just I think 2 days back, Pravina and I were at the, like, Advait was in the class, and Pravina and I were at the play area with minding Swara, and that's when we decided to read it together. What Advait had written, one of the first drafts of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the story is cute and fun and all of that, but there's one line which was hilarious, and we both like laughing loud in a play where others thinking, what is wrong with them? So I think that was a beautiful moment. Thanks for that.
Yes, Ravi, you brought that up. He's got a wonderful sense of humor too, and everybody will see it when they read the story together. So I know exactly what you're talking about because I had a hearty laugh too when I read that line. So to be able to incorporate humor also into a mystery story is real fun. So yeah. Thanks, Ravi. Thanks. Rucha, Ruta, anybody? Neha?
Yes, Vaishali. So, can I speak?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. So, with respect to Tanvi, if I ask her to write something, generally she will not. But this topic, when you said that, there is a mystery writing workshop, so she herself said that, I want to join this because this, this age, the kids like detective stories and mystery stories and maybe horror stories. So that's what they enjoy at this age, is what I feel. And she thoroughly enjoyed it. And she gave me one instruction that please don't read my story because I want you to solve the mystery. So she's the one, she used to I'll just send you this and you please send it out to Vaishali Maushi on the group. That's all what I have done, but I'm eager to hear all the stories, and you've given us a background about what each and every child here has written. So it's interesting. And Tanvi enjoyed the workshop entirely.
Thanks, Ruta. Actually, this is my instruction to all my children in my writing workshop. Of course, the reason here is mystery and she wanted it to unfold and, for you to know. But a lot of times I tell children not to share their story with their parents because we as parents tend to correct it, tend to judge it. want to make those grammatical corrections, want to give them more ideas, want to tell them do this, do that. And I must tell you, I tread that path because I'm sitting right here telling parents not to interfere. And then I have to turn around and be a parent here when she's part of my mystery workshop and deliver what what I'm doing as a teacher. So it's a tough job. So a lot of times the sentences are almost here as a mother, but then I swallow it. And I think all of you have been great as parents because you've not judged the children at all in their writing. And I think that gives them the confidence to just go ahead and express themselves. And that's why usually it's like a secret pact between me and my kids that when we write, we don't show it to our parents at all. Let them see it on the last day. So yeah, I'm sure Hita, you're going to enjoy the story.
Yeah, Vaishali, and one more thing, just today morning I was asking her, ki, Tanvi, are you prepared and how did you like it? So I was asking her this. So what she told me was this is very different than what my teacher teaches in the school. If they are asked to write a composition, it's like, introduction and then main para and the ending. So she said here I got the freedom to express my ideas. And I didn't have to, just go and, yes, you did guide them on how to write the story. But she says this was not as, what happens and it's very boring in the school. As I said, it's difficult to make her write, extremely difficult to, just force her to write the normal compositions and all which come in school.
So I completely empathize, sympathize, understand everything because, I always start my writing workshops telling children because in curriculum nowadays, everybody has story writing. And I think the 3 sentences which are done to that is every story has to have a beginning, has to have a middle, and has to have an end. And I think that is something that children don't want to hear anymore because they know it, and it's so theoretical. And then when you tell them, just go ahead, we'll figure it out. Don't think about the title. It'll come to you in the end. And just go with the flow and then see how. So we kind of did the reverse work in mystery, which is very essential because children tend to have this, great imagination wherein big plots are unfolding. So I have to tell them, wait, first tell me the solution to your story. And then we go backwards and then we create the mystery. So I think they kind of figured it out that they can have larger than life ideas about mystery, but it has to kind of resonate with the reader. So I think that reverse work really helped them to work with the mystery for the very first time. So yeah, great.
Yeah, hi Vaishali.
Hey Richa.
I am so glad he attended this. Just 1 minute. Mute kar do. Because to start with, he hates to write. But when I told him Vaishali auntie was conducting this, he jumped at the idea that yes, I would love to join the class. Otherwise, he was just against it. I don't want to do this. And as you might know that he has a lot of ideas, but writing it down or rather narrowing it down to one thing is very difficult. So I think this helped him, and he used to tell me what used to go in the class. I think there's also him to, come and tell me what is going, and if he could actually tell me the instructions that you're giving him. And he could do that. Now you will be the best judge of knowing how a story how he has written the story. But it was fun for him. He used to discuss it with me every day, and I think he's written it well. Let's see.
That's wonderful. I think just going back and discussing with all of you all itself is also nice because that means they're excited about doing it. And I told you right in the beginning, a big smile on his face would tell me that Ani is very excited to write. So that's really.
No, but he could at least, he could tell me what is to be done. How he wanted to start a story, the name of he told me all the instructions you told him yesterday, that he needs to, elaborate it a little. And most of the time they don't, like you said, they don't take instructions. He doesn't take instructions from me. He's like, no, this is what I want to do. But when it came from you, or rather all the instructions you gave, he came and told me and he incorporated it in his story. At least he tried.
Yeah, you're on.
So, yeah.
That's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Visible in the story because I've seen the 3 edits that he sent me. He sent me 3 edited versions, and the final version when I got, it a smile on my face because I could see Yom worked on all.
Yes, yes.
Good on you, Yom. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I'm very happy that he attended this.
Yes. Anyone else? Or I'll share the screen.
Okay, Vaishali, can I have 2 words?
Yes, yes, Uncle, sure. I'll just
Yeah.
talk to Neha's grandfather and come to you, Neha.
So this activity for Eva was Eva, do. This activity for Eva was very difficult to accommodate with all her other activities. She's doing music, she's doing skating, she's doing Olympiad and so many other things. But yet she was able to accommodate. And she tells us she is enjoying this session that you're conducting. She was writing the story but never shared with us. We didn't know. I just read it just 15 minutes before we could log in. Yesterday, I think she shared it with her parents. And when they came back from work, they said, Eva, did you really, you wrote it? They asked 5-10 times, I mean, did you really write it? They couldn't believe that she has written that story. So she has really grasped whatever you have taught her, and she really enjoyed writing that story. So when I read the story, I myself was very much surprised. She has painted the characters so very well. I can vividly see the characters now because she has painted them so very well. And she kept the plot till the very end. We have to read till the last paragraph to know who the real culprit was. So she has done very well, and we are very proud of her with her achievements. Yeah. Thank you, Vaishali.
Your granddad is so happy with your story, and so was I. And I think, yes, I'm aware with your busy schedule, and also Eva is in Dubai, so which means even the timelines are very different for her. And with so many things happening around. So really, Eva, I'm very proud of you. And I think you must continue writing. You're very good at writing, so you must continue writing.
Okay.
Neha?
Hi Vaishali. So actually, initially I was hesitant because it was 8 to 13 years age group and she is not till 8. So, but I know she is very much interested nowadays in mystery, and whatever anything related to Katha Mehfil, she is always like very much excited to do it. And when I asked her, she immediately said yes. You already know that she loves writing, and I believe this is the next step in the writing a mystery story. And whenever she comes up with like any idea or any story, I'm always amused to see I mean, her ideas are like very much different. I could I mean, I also write, but I could never think of the innocence, and like it is very different. And what I like about your workshops most is you give them the freedom to express their ideas, however different they are, without any judgment. Because you said it correctly, as parents we tend to like correct them or judge them, or like tell them this is not right or wrong, like that. So like she's able to I mean, I think it is a complete justice to their ideas and their thoughts. So really appreciate you for this, and Shravi really enjoyed this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the kids are losing patience, so we will go ahead with the books, and then if anyone else also wants to share their thoughts and views, you're most welcome to. So kids, can we begin? Can we begin? I can't hear anything.
Yes.
Right, so just give me a moment. Give me a moment.
My sister also wanted to attend this class.
We will share Advait's story first. Can you all see this? It's called The Detective Dilemma. You just thumbs up.
Vaishali.
किती 30 बाकी तुमचं कमी झालं खूप खालचं झालं वाटतं मला बरोबर नाही त्यांना विचारतो वरती
Advait, can you see your story? Hello. Are you all there? Can you all hear me? Can you see the story?
Yes, Vaishali
we can.
auntie.
Okay, because unless you all tell me, I wouldn't know. I can see it on screen, but I can see you all minimized, right? So I have to just go ahead. So Advait's story is called The Detective Dilemma. I'm going to start reading the story. I had finished a case in Kolkata about a missing leopard. A zoo owner had stolen it. And while heading home, I dropped by Delhi for a small vacation. I intended to visit all the famous places, starting with the Rashtrapati Bhavan. It was walking distance from my hotel. When I reached there was chaos everywhere. India's main government building was in flames. On TV, there was a flickering figure of Ajay Abhirani. Now that's, Advait's villain, who, by the way, is an evil villain who's my main enemy. He's amazing and he knows it. That makes him really overconfident. He's really dangerous and smart. He really loves crimes and criminals. Every person's nightmare is to face him. He also really, really hates me because I foiled his plans once. No one likes him. Anyway, he was on TV, my favorite crime news, and on everyone's phones. Abhirani blows up government building and says, "Get ready for my big hit." The entire country is in chaos. People who sell security cameras and powerful locks are becoming billionaires. The detective society is pulling dust of their hair. Bald detectives are becoming common. Security has improved drastically. No one leaves their houses. Abhirani's face is the only thing in crime news. The government is desperate to recruit new agents. He quit after the incident. But I'm calm because the hotel has an amazing jacuzzi. The fact that a lot of detectives are getting bored while he's enjoying the jacuzzi, Advait definitely put a smile on my face. I was giggling while reading this. I was listening to some music. Not the music, big beat. It's the way musicians call it. Benami made a song once. It's called "Breaking Out Criminals Getting All Their Loot." Boom! I ran to the police station shouting "Eureka!" all the way. I ran in singing and dancing all the way. Delhi's police station was bigger than Pune's police station. Nothing of the two who were trying to solve the mystery unsuccessfully. Later that day, I removed all the criminals
He was explaining how each person's story was special.
in their place. The police were, as predicted, freed by Ajay and were told to give him all their loot. All the police ran to fetch their loot. These police were supposed to report the police station, give us his secret base, and grab some guns from the town. Instead, out of pure terror, they were even scared of his voice. They ran off, calling for their mummies. Thankfully, 2 of them ran to the police station. When we calmed them down, they gave us the address. Meanwhile, in Abhirani's hideout, he was singing to himself. Advait, you should sing this part.
Oh, money, money, money. Oh, what a sight to see. With 15 criminals on my side, a masked scary is Mr. Hyde, a master criminal named Ajay. Hey, 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 hey.
He was busy singing that Abhirani. Suddenly, the 2 thieves he had helped escape, ran in panting. Well, he asked, "Where's the loot?" Both the thieves grinned and removed their prisoner coats, revealing their police clothes. Ajay muttered swear words under his breath. That was the moment when the rest of the police and I waltzed into the room, guns raised. I gave my 2 guns to the unarmed, brilliant thieves or policemen who are under arrest. And that's Advait's story. Advait, very well done. I loved reading it. I'm sure
Wonderful.
everybody enjoyed it as well.
That's really funny.
Yeah, very well done. Isn't it very funny also, right?
Ma'am, have you created a story for me?
Yes, Mahir?
Have you created a story to me?
As we sorry, better, I didn't hear you.
Have you created a story for me?
I didn't create a story for you, Bacha. You sent me your story, which was small, and I've told you to elaborate on your story. So once you send it, I will also make it like this only and send it to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what you can do Mahir, is you can record your story in your voice, and I've asked your mama to actually type it down and send it to me this weekend. Okay?
Okay, this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to use marker on your detective to complete your story, all right?
I didn't really record it because my friend is coming to play.
That's okay. When you find the time, you must record it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead with the next set of.
Vaishali, hi, this is Neha. Actually, I have one request. Can you read Shavi's story next? Because I have a 1 month old and I may need to leave.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Can you see the screen? So this is a website called the Book Creator. I have a subscription to Book Creator because then we do a lot of writing sessions and children can actually have their books published and it looks like a proper book with a cover. You can play with the fonts and you can turn the pages. So it becomes very interesting for children to, kind of read it. So we're going to go ahead with Shavi's book. Let me play the book. Okay. So this is what an ebook looks like. So it looks like a proper hardcover book. And when you turn the page, it opens this way. All right. So I'm going to read. Once there was a land of witches where all the houses were like the shape of a pumpkin. There lived a great witch named, what was her name? Timpidabo. She had a big book of spells and it contained thousands of spells. One day while making tea, she had left her book on the table. When she went back to the table to take her book to study spells, she realized it was not on the table. She searched for the book everywhere in the house and realized the book was missing. She got really worried and tried to investigate a little of her own. But she couldn't find any clues of the book of spells. She decided to call the detective Cinderella, the fairy cat. Cinderella came down to Timpidabo and asked her a few questions like, in your neighborhood and admires your book of spells. Timpidabo said, yes, there's a witch near my house named Timbo, and she really likes the book. She had even asked me for the book, but I refused to do so. Then she became very angry. Further, Cinderella asked, do you have any help or anyone coming to your service like a cook or someone? Timpidabo nodded her head saying, yes, I have a helper goblin named Pom Pom, but I don't think he might have stolen it because he's very innocent, and I have a paper boy pixie named Candy. I don't think he has stolen my book of spells either, though he adores it very much and wanted to give me the paper in exchange of the book. But I refused his offer and gave him some money for the paper. Cinderella started to look around for any clues. She started roaming around Timpidabo's house. It was full of dust, cobwebs everywhere, because of which Cinderella found some footprints and fingerprints. Cinderella started looking around for any clues. She started roaming around Timpidabo's house. It was full of dust, cobwebs everywhere, because of which Cinderella found some footprints. Cinderella and Timpidabo looked curiously at each other and started observing clues found through a magnifying glass. After some analysis, they realized that the footprints and the handprints were a goblin which had been twisted in the face, making the goblin the prime suspect. Timpidabo frantically told Cinderella that I forgot to mention that Candy, Pom Pom, and Timbo are very good friends. They are kind of jealous of me. I do not allow them to look at my book of spells, as I fear that they might tear the page to ruin it or maybe even steal it. Meanwhile, Cinderella noticed something on the top of the cupboard. It seemed like green. Exactly was similar to Timbo's hair. They thought that Timbo and Pom Pom had stolen the book and Candy was innocent. While coming to the conclusion, they found the eyelash of a pixie, which looked like Candy's eyelash, and some newspaper pieces. Candy also had become the suspect. Cinderella checked the room of Pom Pom belonging along with the house of Timbo and Candy. In Timbo's house, she found few pages of Pinky Dabo's spell book. Cinderella checked Candy's house and found a box which did not seem to be suspicious as it looked like a photo and torn picture box. After brainstorming for some time, they were about to conclude Timbo as the culprit. But then in Timbo's house, the pieces they found were torn photos from spell book which made Cinderella think about the box they had seen in Candy's home. Candy checked it and woohoo! There was Witch Tinky Dabo's book of spells. They glued everything together and the book was back as it was. Candy tried to frame Timbo by placing torn photos in her house. Witch Tinky Dabo never kept it out of sight from then on. Cinderella got a nice fish bowl as a treat for solving this mystery for Tinky Dabo Jake. Fabulous story, isn't it?
Beautiful.
So how a book of spells was discovered. Fantastic, fantastic. Let's go on with the next. Eva April Lobo, the robbery during winter. Eva, are you ready? Let's begin. Once upon a time in a snowy place, there lived 4 neighbors. 2 of them were living an average life, but one of them was really rich. His name was Richie. He was a tall man with a neatly trimmed moustache. He had grey eyes and thin rimmed spectacles that lay neatly on a slightly pointed nose. He wore a soft black sweater with white designs and long jeans to keep him warm. On the contrast, the last neighbor was the poorest neighbor of them, Paul, and lived in a small hut. His name was Paul, and he was a short character with a bristly moustache and a long nose. The other 2 neighbors were Harry and Max. Max was quite fat and he wore a Santa outfit with black boots and a Santa hat. Harry was an Australian and had a funny accent. He wore a green jacket with an orange t-shirt and a pair of jeans. Thought he had a funny taste in fashion. One day, everyone was talking about cars. I would like a Ford, said Max. But surprisingly, Rich didn't have a car. He explained to them.
Yes.
Paul acted like
Just trying to see
all
my
these fancy things. Soon, all the 4 neighbors went back home to sleep.
Chayos.
No,
We said not to put a little adrak.
everyone came over to Richie's stream. Gone, exclaimed Richie. The 4 friends searched everywhere, but they couldn't find him. I think we should call the police. Max told everybody as they were searching everywhere. That's actually a good idea, Richie said in a rather panicky voice. So it was settled. They would call the police. When the police arrived, they came with a girl in a cute husky. On its collar, it wrote Barker. It turns out that the girl was a detective named Ari. She had short hair and blue eyes, and in her right hand, she held a bowl-shaped squishy toy. The police started to ask questions, and Ari noted them out. As the police were leaving, Ari spotted footprints. They followed the footprints, and it led all the way to Max's house. Richie was surprised. He was the one who suggested we call the police. Richie told the police, so they decided to search all the houses. In each of the houses, there were nothing except an old picture box and Paul's bed. They gave up and took Max as the criminal. Richie was very disappointed and the police got annoyed when Max couldn't give the money, so they arrested him and said they would release him when he returned the money to Richie. Now this part of the story, all of you who are listening, is excellent. Later that day, as Ari was sitting at home, she decided to go and see her pet caterpillar, but it wasn't there. She looked everywhere and His Bartolo found the caterpillar hiding in the top of the lid of the box it was kept in. This reminded Ari of the box underneath Paul's bed. She rushed back and looked at the lid of the box from the Paul's bed. It had a secret compartment and it had all the money. Everyone was very cross when they heard Paul stole the money. They were very cross but forgave him after he told everybody why I need the money, because now here Eva has changed the story. So I'm going to talk about the edited version. So it is not because he needed a new car. What is the end, Eva? Could you share it with us?
Because he had very little food, so he needed the money.
So he was actually the poorest of all the friends, and he was struggling to, earn money or get enough money to eat, whereas his friends were talking about buying cars. And so, Eva, at the end of your story, does their friend Paul, is he punished or is he released?
I changed it to that the police left him off with a warning.
Here we had a discussion wherein we spoke about seasoned criminals and people who commit a crime, out of necessity. Then we had a little discussion on should they be left or not. But then the friends realized that their friend was in trouble, and so they took back, the complaint of the theft, and so Paul was released. So I think this discussion was very interesting because as children they had to understand whether punishment can, whether crime can go without punishment or it has to be punished. So yeah, I think the end was left to the author, of course. And so Eva decided that since Paul stole the money since he was very hungry, his friends decided to do it. And so the police also helped him. So well done, Eva. Excellent. A big round of applause for Eva. The next story is The Case of the Missing Crown by Tanvi Rajapadhyay. Excitement around the Kingdom of England. Fiona had her coronation ceremony and was going to get crowned with an ancient crown which has been passed down by the Queens of England. The preparations were almost done. The preparations of the Queen's new dress, their banners, their food was ready. The crown was heavily guarded. Then the crown was stolen. This shocked the Queen, but she decided not to tell the kingdom and solve the mystery as soon as possible. The police said the crime was very well planned. The criminal had shot all the soldiers and had erased the evidence from CCTV cameras. We did everything we can from our side. Keep us informed, said Fiona. She returned to the room and started discussing all this with her friend Diana. Diana said, the police are doing work from their side. We should also do something from our side. But what can we do? Asked Fiona. We need someone who thinks like a criminal, knows what a criminal is. We need a criminal itself to solve this case. We need Stacy. Stacy is Fiona's cousin sister. Okay, I agree, said the Queen. They brought Stacy home and told her the whole story. And Stacy laughed wickedly and said, I will help you. She started to gather suspects. She looked through a highly advanced security system and calls and hotels where most of the thieves live and gathered where the three of the suspects were. The first suspect was an old colleague who used to help her to steal things. The second was a friend of hers, and the third was a friend from college. The crime happened at night. The first friend was not at his house and had not been seen until morning and clock. The second friend had a housewarming party, and the third one was in the hall. Now, when Tanvi wrote this, is when we discussed about alibi. How you can actually have an alibi to prove your innocence if you're a suspect, because someone can vouch for where you were. So, this was the concept that the children learned. So, she got the answer as the first friend had decided to tell Fiona and I. When she told them about him, their mouth was wide open and said, I guess he wants to take revenge. Revenge of what? Said Diana and Fiona. We used to plan and steal things together. A few years ago, we had stolen a diamond necklace that was very costly. He gave it to me to take care of it and asked me to give it to him the day after. But I was selfish and took the necklace and ran away and have not met him till today. Anyway, let's focus on solving the mystery. Just to tell you his name is James Regan. Now that we know he's stolen it, we need to think of how we can get it back to him. But how? James Regan owns a hotel and he has got a party tomorrow. If we can keep him distracted in the party, we have a chance of getting the crown back at the time of the coronation. James has a secret gallery of all his stolen precious things until now. If we can get into the gallery and steal the crown back, that's easy, said Fiona. No, it's not as simple as we think. He has lasers set up in the gallery and advanced security system. We need at least 2 or 3 people to do this, said Stacy. I can do it, said Fiona as well as Diana. Okay, let's work on it. Fiona, party and don't reveal your real name. Diana and I will go and change the security system settings and go through the laser lines and get it done. Diana, I need you to get it down and I will look for the settings in the camera. We need to be fully disguised and no matter what happens, not to reveal our names. Let's do it. It's now time for the party and the trio gets ready for the grand finale. They all reach there and Fiona went in there, keeping her name as Stephanie, and starts to distract James with the new topic of her business. While on the other side, Stacy hacks into the security system and freezes the camera. Diana tries to get inside the gallery, but she can't. She asks Stacy for help and puts the number 18510 and gets inside the gallery. She gets past the laser and there it was the crown. She lifts the crown and puts the bags that she had. She sets the alarm on. The alarm starts beeping and James runs off to the gallery. When Diana puts her finger on the shelf, it stops. The alarm was sensing the weight of the object. So she picks a book from her bag on the shelf and runs away. All 3, Diana, Fiona, and Stacy, all run and get back into their car. James had no idea who had stolen the crown and had been sent to jail for 5 years. He was so happy and get back to the castle. The mystery was solved. The coronation ceremony takes place and Fiona now becomes Queen Fiona. Everyone in the kingdom were clueless and didn't come to know this at all. So, Bhuta,
Yes, yes, Vaishali. Lovely. Sorry?
you have to tell me how did the mystery unfold for you?
Yeah. Lovely, lovely. I enjoyed it.
Fantastic. And so did I.
I'm gonna encourage her to write more using this topic.
I think all of you should encourage the kids to write, and I can see the the effect of reading all these mystery novels. There is laser, and there is it's like they already know how the security system works, and use words like hack and freezing the computers like it's their daily lingo. That's the new generation.
Correct. Good.
Let's go on to the last story of today evening, The Mystery of the Lost Stones by Vyom. Once upon a time, there was a very rich man, but he wasn't born rich. His father was a simple worker at a jewelry store. He used to go with his father to the store sometimes and loved the glittering jewelry and the precious stones. Vyom, I'm so proud of you. I love this intro. As he grew older, his fascination for diamonds and precious stones grew. But he did not want to work for anyone and earn money. He wanted to be rich fast. He started stealing small things first, but slowly his confidence grew and he was intelligent enough to plot and plan for bigger robberies. Slowly he became a very intelligent thief, but no one knew his identity. His name was Robert. One day while he was researching about the stone, he came across a very unique and precious stone. After a lot of research, he came to know the stone was hidden in a very old temple. The temple was heavily guarded with electronic lasers as well as best security guards. No one could reach the stone. There were 10 doors through which a person had to pass before reaching the main area where the stone was kept. He starts gathering all the information required to steal the stone. One night he remembers that he has a friend who knows all about the temple. So the next day he calls his friend and asks something for dinner. That night his friend comes over Robert asks his friend about the temple. The friend mentions that he has a map of the temple in his house. Robert decides to steal this map from his friend's place. When he gets an opportunity, he steals the map from his friend's place, copies it, and puts it back without anybody knowing. When he reads the map, he understands that there's an underground tunnel which leads straight to the store. This tunnel is through the jungle behind the temple. He decides to go through the jungle into the tunnel. After a lot of careful planning, he decides on the way when he could steal the stone. He prays that he won't come across any wild animals that day. He checks the map and finds the spot where the tunnel starts. He digs it out and enters the tunnel. He carefully goes through the tunnel. There are electric wires everywhere. He carefully goes through the electric maze of wires. The tunnel is very dark. There are a lot of hurdles to pass. Although he knew about the electric maze, he finds it very difficult to pass. There are dangerous snakes and deadly insects, which makes it difficult for him to pass. The tunnel takes him directly to the stone room. Carefully, he disables the laser and takes the stone. But while he didn't know, what he didn't know was there was an alarm under the stone. The alarm goes off and the guards are alerted. He runs back to the tunnel and escapes. While he's running, his locket is left behind. The police arrive and investigate, and the investigation begins. The detective arrives. His name is Detective Megamind. He has solved a lot of cases. He dresses as a cowboy and is very stylish. He starts looking for clues. He finds the locket in the stone room. He remembers that he's seen the locket somewhere, but he can't remember where. When they start the search, Megamind thinks they should check at Mr. Robert's house because he's a collector and he might be right. When they go to his house and ask him for help, Detective Megamind sees a picture in the newspaper where Mr. Robert is wearing the locket, which they found while investigating. Megamind is sure Robert is the thief. When he tells Robert about the locket, Robert says that his locket was lost last week. Megamind points out that the picture was taken just the day before, as mentioned in the newspaper. They start searching Robert's house. While searching, they see a bookshelf in his bedroom. He thinks there might be some clues there. But when he tries to take out the book, his hand goes through the bookshelf and he understands it is an illusion. He goes through the bookshelf and finds a room. In the room is a collection of all the precious stones that were stolen. Robert is caught and taken to jail. Megamind has solved the mystery ever. This completes a fantastic collection of mystery stories by all my darling children. So, parents, how are the stories?
Lovely, lovely. It is so fun to see such young kids. You know, they at least even they can think about these things. I mean, I don't even remember what we were like at 8 and 10 and 11. My God, this has been an excellent. I mean, it's a very nice experience for us parents also, I think, to know that the kids can think so much.
Yes, I can.
Absolutely. I think kids are, you can't compare them to what we were when we were 8. I think we also read a lot, but
Yeah.
I think it's the avenue to be able to write, to be able to be in such a group. I think, you know, since we've been together for an hour and I've discussed about the kids, about the class, and you have read the stories, you can see that there is something, you know, kind of common between all their stories. They're all influenced by each other. You know, that's
Yes.
the beauty. And, you know, when you sit down alone to write, those ideas don't come. Whereas when you work together, it is such a thriving environment that they come up with fabulous ideas and stories.
Yes, yes. Wonderful, wonderful. Each and every one.
You must all
Each
clap
and-
for yourselves.
Clap for yourself.
And one more thing that I always love to do is give yourselves a pat on your back. Of course,
Yes.
mamas will give, but you should also give yourself a pat on your back. You know, because you have really done a fabulous job. And save the story. Let the story be a motivation and inspiration that you should continue writing. And I must tell you that through this 1.5 years that I have done online sessions, there are children who have started writing, and I have told them that just because the session is over, it doesn't end. The whenever you write a story and you feel that Vaishali Auntie or Vaishali Maushi should read it, just email it to me because I am more than happy to read your stories. And there are many kids who keep sending in their stories. In fact, right now I'm talking to a couple of girls from Chennai who have written a story together and they are working to get it published. So we have Zoom calls, we discuss, we edit together and we do all of that. So let us stop here. Keep writing. All right. Yes, Leo?
I was asking that this story that you have made, I mean, yeah, where will I see it?
I will share the link with all of you. Don't worry. You will get the link to see it and you can also share this link with everybody else.
Okay.
Okay. Now, children, you tell me, how did you find the class? Your parents talked, I talked.
I liked it. I loved it.
I liked it. I loved it. I loved it the most. It was really fun. Vaishali Auntie, I loved joining the class, and this was the first mystery story I wrote ever.
How sweet, but let this not be the last one. Yeah.
It was much more fun than the classes at school. Those were boring.
Oh. But you must continue writing. And Mahir, now that you have heard everybody's stories and you have lovely ideas in your head, I'll be waiting for your story. I want to convert it into a book. You send it to me, no, Mahir? Oi, where are you? Mahir, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So will you send it to me this weekend?
Yes.
Okay. Have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, okay? 3 days. I want you to complete it and send it to me. So I will make it into a book and share it with all your friends as well. Yeah. All right. So anyone else wants to say anything else?
No.
All right. So thank you very, very much. I love you all very much. And keep writing. And you have my email address. Anytime you write a story, feel free to share it with me. Okay, I'd love to.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you, Vaishali Auntie.
I have the same link as you. I just figured
Thank you,
out.
Vaishali.
Thank you for
Okay, one
helping
moment.
us write a mystery story.
One moment. Eva. Yes, Mahir, what were you saying?
I have the same story link as you. IDKY.
Okay. I thought you were saying something else. Yes, Eva?
Thank you for helping us write mystery stories.
Oh, you're most welcome. Your ideas were right there.
Thank you for teaching me what mystery stories are. How are they supposed to be written and solved?
Thank you, Vaishali Auntie, for this wonderful workshop. Thank you. I really love this workshop.
I love all of you. You know that, don't you? And I miss meeting all of you. So I'm hoping that in 2022 I can meet all of you and do what I love most is to give you all.
I want to come to Story Station.
I know I miss seeing you at Story Station and giving you a hug. You have now grown very big. When you were small, you used to sit on my lap.
He's feeling very shy when you say that.
I know. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Yeah, bye. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, Vaishali. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.